Okay, hello and welcome to this video, a video that has taken me several days to make, not because it's anything mind-blowing, but because after speaking to 4 or 5 people who know about PCs that are friends of mine, we disagreed on some things, we made some stuff up, but this video has been split into several parts for a very good reason. The switch to PC has got a lot of people on the timeline, a lot of people on social media wondering what on earth they should have if they want to play on PC next year. What's going to be the standard? What are we looking for? Okay, so let me put this out there first of all. I think if we're being honest, the standard for next year for competitive, and this isn't for pros will probably go for something bigger, is going to need to be around about 144 FPS. And the reason for that is you're going to want a 144 Hz panel. They'll mesh up very nicely. You won't get screen tearing, anything like that. But that's the goal we're kind of looking for with this build especially. Realistically, this is a cheap PC that I am going to show you. And there are aspects of it that you could probably make a bit cheaper. There are some that you could get more performance out of and make a bit more expensive. And that's one of the main things about PC building that if you haven't done it before, you don't really understand. First of all, PC building has to go along several lines of what is your budget? What are you willing to spend on a PC, right? Most importantly. And then what do you want it to do, right? Because if you want a super cheap PC, you might not be able to stream from it very well at, full rate. You may not get, super high ultra graphics with 400 FPS. If you wanted to create content from it, then you might need a slightly different build as well. How much storage you're going to need. All these things factor in, okay? The build I'm going to show you is a build designed to be a very base level PC that, with the right settings on Call of Duty Cold War, will get you there at a decent level, right? You want to go to 144 FPS. That's basically the way I've built this PC, to squeak over that line and give you buttery smooth, full FPS and hertz and everything. Whether or not it does it, because the benchmarks, by the way, aren't out yet for Call of Duty Cold War, so we don't know exactly how it runs. We can kind of guess. And also, if you're curious about Modern Warfare and Warzone, Warzone takes significantly more in terms of requirements than it does for multiplayer. You can actually expect about a 50% drop in performance from going from multiplayer to Warzone. So please bear that in mind as well, okay? Now, let's get rid of this. And let's go into our parts list. Okay. Here is our parts list. And before any of you techies get in, like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm a hobbyist. I've spoken to a few people. We've come up with a rough build of what you could build to squeak you over the line for this one. Starting off with the Ryzen 3, okay? It's a good quad core. It's a very kind of old style in terms of a lot of people are now trying to go for 6, 8, 12, 16... all the way up to the Threadripper, 64 monsters, right? But this core will get you there, okay? It's not going to blow anything out the water. You're not going to be sitting there going, oh, this is amazing. It is a cheap CPU that has enough power, that should have enough power to get us to 140 FPS, okay? That's the goal. Whether or not we overclock or whatever, this is the processor. We've gone for a micro ATX board. The reason that it's micro ATX, by the way, in case you're looking at it, is basically to save a little bit of cash. It's nothing fancy. It's not going to look great. It's just going to do the job of being a motherboard with some inputs. Okay? Nothing amazing there. We've actually gone for 16 gig of RAM because right now it's basically what you need. It's the very low end. There's nothing flashy about this either. The clock speed, 3200, more than respectful, and it's DDR4. Okay? So this generation of RAM, very good. CL16 as well, pretty decent. Okay? This is one of the places you could save a bit of money. Storage is a big factor, okay? Depending on how much you want. If you want to make videos and stuff, I mean, you can make videos on this PC. Like, I have a PC right now that is probably about the same as this in terms of performance. My PC is 5 years old. I need to actually upgrade at some point. But, storage is a big thing for me at the moment. I actually have 4 SSDs, an external terabyte drive, an M2, and God knows what. I actually have a laptop drive stuffed in this PC just for a bit more storage at the moment. But we've gone for an M2 drive because it's easier to put in. It's just put it straight in. You don't have to worry about it too much. And the price difference isn't that much for an SSD. I will recommend an SSD here. If you want to save even more money, you could go hard drive, but the difference will be unbelievable. It's one of the biggest upgrades you can do on a budget PC is to go from a hard drive to an SSD. You won't believe the difference it makes for a single component. All right, they are going to be a little bit more expensive, but this is a very good baseline. 500 gig We know Call of Duty is going to be about 230 gigabytes or something mental like that. This will get you there. You're not going to have an awful lot of more space on the drive for other games or videos or whatever you want, but like I said, this is a budget build. Then we've gone on to the card. Now, the cards in this case are in a horrific state, and by that I mean it's very confusing for people buying them right now because the 3000 series has just launched. In fact, benchmarks are out today, and one of the craziest things about it is they are so good at their price points. The 3070 especially is unbelievable in terms of power to price that it's difficult to recommend anything else. But because this is a budget build, we've gone for a 1660 Super, 6GB, video card, 204 quid. It's cheap, it's cheerful. It'll do you a good job. You can play other PC games with it. You're probably going to even stream just about. I wouldn't recommend streaming on this build. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not, mind blowing. If you want to stream with it, then you might want a console and to stream with it, and then it'll do fine because NVENC is pretty good at the moment. I stream on NVENC, at 1080 when I do the podcast and stuff, and it holds it down. But I don't stream and do the gaming because it will seriously affect the FPS. Okay, gonna stress it out. We've gone for a case. The case here isn't too bad actually. It's just the kind of the monolithic block. It's black. It's got some airflow. It's nothing outrageous. Okay, it's nothing like, oh god, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's just it'll do the job. Okay. And then we've got the Corsair 550 watt gold certified. Okay, I like gold certified things. They're efficient. Semi-modular, that's a big bonus in this kind of thing. Like I said, you could probably find a cheaper one. I always have a hesitation when going cheap when building PCs and going for power supplies because it is one of the more important components. Like if you go for a pre-built, right, it's going to be insane in the way that they kind of cheap out on the power supply. That's usually where they'll go cheap. And I want to make this perfectly clear because one of the parts of these videos is this will basically squeak over the line with the right settings. It is not something I would actually recommend. And that's the crazy thing about this PC is I can't really recommend it because I love PCs so much. And if I'm being honest, it's not really future-proof. It's going to start to struggle, quicker than you would like. But, as a baseline, everybody out there saying, oh, you're going to have to get a 2000 PC or an XY PC or anything. For a 144 FPS or an 144 Hertz, bearing in mind, right, you have to buy the monitor, and there are some good chances for monitors. Also, this is at 1080p, I should say. We're not going to 4K, we're not going to 1440. We're just sitting here at this because that's what a lot of you will play on, okay? And that's exactly what you need for this. I will also say, if you aren't willing, if you just still want to stream, maybe you have a PC right now, you want to stream, you're like, oh, I don't want to spend this much, fine, absolutely fine, I understand completely. I will say here that the PS5 isn't something I would recommend against, okay? One of the biggest things between PC and PlayStation or any console of your choice is the field of view slide, and I'm hoping they're going to put one into the next game because it makes a big difference. It makes things look a little bit different. You get a wider field of view, huge advantage in FPSs. But if you look at the FPS stuff that they have put out so far, they are talking about the PS5 being able to run Cold War at 120 FPS, meaning it is a very viable way to compete next year in challenges if you want to play on console and continue along those lines. Obviously, PC has some other benefits. You can do other things on a PC. You can make content. You can, play other PC games. Big PC fan myself. I play a lot of strategy games, and PC is the place for those. But, and the other benefit this year is that you can use basically any controller. I use a program called DS4W at the moment. Allows me to play with my Impact. And I love it, right? It's fantastic for that kind of use. So I can actually recommend the PS5 if you are looking for a simple solution to go and build next year. Speaking of building, okay, and I will reiterate these in other videos because I don't know which one you're going to watch. If you are looking at building a PC, you can go pre-built. I don't like a lot of pre-builds, especially from places like PC World or Curry's. And also the price on this, by the way, it's not too difficult in American. Okay, I know some of you American fans, the prices aren't too different. You can find very similar components. You can find very similar prices. It's not a million miles away. We tend to play a little bit more over here in the UK anyway, so the conversion rate does match up pretty close. But also, this doesn't include anything for streaming. It doesn't include the 144 Hertz panel. So just bear those in mind that you may need more components down the line. But building a PC, right, isn't difficult. Trust me on this. It looks more difficult. It's a more scary prospect than you realise. It is literally click in and connect, and then there's a few screws you have to put in. There's no welding. There's no using hammers. You don't have to cut anything. You just put it together. If you ever played with Lego, it's adult Lego. It's all you've got to do. Okay? Trust me on this. If I had the money spare, I would buy one of these PCs and I would do it live for you, the recommended builds, and show you what you need to get. But this is a very budget build. I have other videos. We're going to go into a medium Cold War build next in the next video to show you what I could recommend you buy to get you a decent rig with some room for it and the next generation of cards. But I struggle to recommend this build simply because I think that the 3000 series that has just come out is an outrageously good bang for the buck in terms of performance. And if you are looking to buy something for an investment or for the future, I can recommend that. This is a basic. This will get you there, right? This is your first car. This is I'll get you from point A to point B and you can compete. Whether or not it'll be good for the following years, we don't know. I don't know all the benchmarks coming forward, but I hope you've enjoyed this. Try not to argue with me too much in the comments. I'm trying my best, okay? I know some of you are PC geniuses, and I know you need to give me every bit of feedback, but realistically, this is a very complicated system in terms of price versus efficiency versus what you could get and what's good. The parts in this are functional. They are function over form. They will do the job that you need them to do, okay? Thank you for watching. I always appreciate your feedback regardless. Make sure you subscribe. We're getting close to 1,000 subscribers. And I'll see you in the next video.